Hello and very warm welcome. My name is Armin Brumand and I am a senior recruitment manager at Study Group. I'm here today about Durham University, why it is one of the best universities in not just in the UK but globally as well, what we offer in terms of degree options, what are the general entry requirements for students, and how you can apply and consider your application to achieve a bachelor, master's, or a PhD degree from Durham University. So to begin with, I want to raise the question, why choose Durham University? As you can see from this slide, Durham is one of the highest ranked universities, not just in the UK, but globally as well. So they're currently ranked at 7th in the UK, and they are a World Top 100 university. Durham University is also one of the oldest universities in England. So it's the third oldest university in England after Oxford and Cambridge. They are a member of the Russell Group universities that are the 24 research-led universities and are the prestigious universities of the UK. They have a very unique residential collegiate system for undergrad and postgrad students. So there are over 17 colleges for students to choose from. And I will get into more details about the different colleges, how you can apply for that in further slides. There are 26 departments and three faculties for students to choose from. And at the moment, we have over 19,000 students studying at Durham University, with over 30% of them being international and coming from 140 different nationalities. So to show you where Durham is, it's in northern England. As you can see, it's quite far from London, so it's not a London or a metropolitan. City. Most arrive in Newcastle Airport, where we schedule an airport pickup for them from the city campus itself, so from the airport, and take them to the university campus itself. And I will take the next slide to show you around the campus itself, but I just want to point out a few things. So at Durham University, we have two campuses. One campus is the city campus, where we offer the main degrees. So that's the undergraduate, the postgraduate, so the bachelor's, master's, and PhD degrees. We also have another campus, which is about 35 minutes away from the city campus. The Queen's campus is designed for international students with weaker academic grades or with not the right qualification to go to Durham University directly. As you know, in the UK, you do 3 years of 3 years of studies to achieve your bachelor's degree. So students, for instance, coming with a Turkish high school diploma from most of the private schools in Turkey can achieve a direct entry. That is subject for them to have at least 85% for most subject areas. So if we look at as a general rule, if you look at one of the graduating from one of the top schools in Turkey, or from a private school, and you have 85% or above in your high school, you can go into direct entry if your bachelor's in 3 years. For students who haven't done that don't have the right academic grade, say for instance for students who have taken IGCSEs and AS level but have not done A levels, or for students who have achieved the Turkish high school diploma, achieved 60% or 65%, they can still go to Durham and they can graduate from a top 100 university worldwide. They have to go through what's called a foundation year. And that foundation year is offered at Queen's campus, as I mentioned, is 35 minutes away. And that's an additional year for students who have not achieved the same academic grades as other students to join the university directly. And again, I do want to emphasize, joining a foundation year does not indicate in any form or shape that you are weaker academically. Every year we have 85 to 90% successful progression rate for our students. It is not just academic, it also absorbs the cultural shock for students, prepares them for an English research and academic-led based courses, and it's also a way for students to integrate in the UK. I won't talk much about the foundation year because I know most of the students in Turkey qualify for direct entry into the university. But the only thing I would mention about your facilities is that for both foundation and pre-masters, we offer similar facilities at Queen's campus as we do at Durham University. So the same sports facilities that you would find at Durham, so at Queen's campus, as well as the libraries and other societies and clubs. The city centre is not also far away. It's only about 10 minutes walking distance for students, and they can, as part of their living in the accommodation, they can book either to go private or with a university managed accommodation. Now, upon progressing to the university, I think the real point is, I will show you an aerial shot of what Durham City looks about. As you can see, Durham is city. It's a traditional British town. More importantly, when students ask, where is the university exactly? It's all around the city. So in a way, Durham is the campus itself, is part of the city. The population of Durham is about 80,000 people, and about 20% of them are students. So making it very much student-oriented. You would find different faculties spread around the city itself, and normally it's a short walk from a certain faculty to your accommodation, to your college, or to another faculty to complete your degree or join a society or a club. So I will start with showing you the cathedral. So this is the landmark of Durham itself. That's where students go on the first day, and that's where the students receive their degree once they come from the university. And this also happens to be the landmark of the city itself. Now, one of the key things that everyone talks about to Durham is the collegiate system. Durham is one of the few universities in the UK that have a collegiate system, similar to Oxford and Cambridge. The main difference between them and Durham is that we don't offer an academic teaching in these colleges. I want to think about what it is. So college is an accommodation. College is a place where students live. But it's so much more than that. College is a place where interests to live. It's for like-minded people to be united. So at Durham, we have 17 colleges for students to select from, and each unique societies, clubs. In fact, this college is important that students, in fact, when they graduate on the degree certificates, it will indicate what college they went to and what college they were in. The first question you get asked as a student or as a graduate from Durham University is what college that you were in, because by that they can identify your hobbies and interests. This college right now is actually the most famous college, and it's also the most popular college. For those of you movie fans, this refresh some of your memories. You might have seen it in a movie, and you're absolutely correct. So University City College, and it is where Harry Potter was filmed there. And as I mentioned, it is quite popular, and a lot of students in this college because of the heritage and the also one of the oldest colleges in the. I'll show you a bit of history around the college in future slides. In terms of the city itself, as I mentioned, it is a traditional British town, so everything is within walking distance for students. And finally, moving on to what an aerial shot looked like from Durham City from above. So this bit over here is what I showed you earlier, and that's, as you can see, colleges are spread around the city. Normally, they are within walking distance for students, and so are the teaching faculties. So you could be, for instance, staying in one of the Hill colleges, but studying studying a business degree, and hence you will be going to your business school on a daily basis by walk or taking a bus there. Speaking of which, now I will move on to speaking about the degree options that are available. So there are multiple routes available for students to take. The most popular one is obviously under the field of business studies. So School of Business at Durham is one of the most important business schools globally. They have a Triple Crown accreditation for the business school, making your degree accredited by AMBA, EQUES. Only 1% of the universities worldwide have a Triple Crown accreditation, and Durham University Business School is one of those 1%. Second one is under School of Science and Engineering. So you will find a wide range of degrees under degrees into general engineering, mechanics, as well as degrees in physics, chemistry, mathematics, and other degrees in psychology and such as biological sciences. We also have the School of Humanities and Social Sciences, so there is a wide range of degrees offered under the School of Humanities and Art, so that would include degrees like liberal art, history, music, languages, literature, LLB law, which happens to be one of the most important and popular courses at Durham University. Strength of the LLB law program. And I will continue showing you around the slides of what the city looks like and what the campus looks like. But in terms of quickly going over the entry requirements, as I mentioned, students will need to display an academic performance. So we require students to have a minimum of 85%. It will depend on the subject area that you're going to. For postgraduate students, they would need to have a higher GPA. So depending again on the degree that you're progressing to, your GPA average can start from degrees where they accept 2.9 out of 4, and to certain degrees it will require you to have a minimum of 3.5. Again, I'll be more than happy to share with you the specific entry requirements per subject, but that is again depending on what you're going to do. One of the key things that I always mention to students on the undergrad is that your subject areas are the factors that determine what progression you can go to. So, for instance, if you want to study engineering and you have excellent grades in physics, those are the subjects that we look at. The same applies for computer science. Students who are going for biological sciences at subject areas like chemistry and biology. For students going for LLB law, modern language, interesting subject to take. For postgraduate students, that will depend on the degree again that they're going to, and their bachelor's must be relevant to that. So although there are areas where we could accept a student with background, in subject areas like again engineering, life sciences degrees, as well as humanities for certain areas, we require students like LLM, so law requires students to have a background similar to the field that they're going to apply for. Students also need to display a strong English level. So we ask students to have an IELTS exam or equivalent to that. If you have taken an IGCSE during your A-levels, then we could waive your English condition. If you're not, then you would need to present one of the English requirements, such as exams like TOEFL or IELTS exam. And we normally require students to have a minimum of IELTS of 6 for certain subject areas, or 6.5 for degrees that have higher English requirements. And the same would apply to postgraduate students. For certain subject areas, we require students to have a minimum of IELTS of 6.5. For some areas like literature or English language or education, we require them to have higher levels of English. So next I want to speak about. So as you probably know, as you can see, Durham is quite famous for sports. Durham is one of the biggest universities for sports. In fact, they're the second biggest for sports in the UK. There are over 500 teams in Durham competing, and there are over 10 sports that are played on a professional level. That means students go to compete on both nationally and international levels, and this is part of the university's commitment, not just to education, but also understanding that there's a social and societies that are important for students. And in fact, we encourage students to take part in these societies and sports activities, and we make them as part of their. And finally, just to indicate how far Newcastle is, so you probably have noticed Newcastle is not far away from Durham. It's only about 15 minutes away. And it is very cost effective for students who want to either go there on a weekend or go spend a few days or simply visit Newcastle and come back. It is under 15 minutes to get to Newcastle itself. You remember I talked about the colleges a lot, and I want to now take the opportunity to show you the different colleges. As you can see, there are some of the most historical colleges. University College is the one that I showed you earlier. The is the Collingwood College. So as you can see over here, the number of people that are living in the college in the previous years. We have different options or catering options for students at each college. So the catered is the ones where students get coupons for their food. There are the self-catered options, which are less expensive, and those self-catered ones are the ones that students cook their own meals, and part catered is where part of the meal is provided for them. And then you can see most of the colleges, or many of the colleges, would have ensuite options. Ensuites are where you get to keep your own restroom and your own living space, but you share a kitchen with a number of other students. Also, it's important to note that students who are living at the university, both undergraduate and postgraduate, will still be part of the college, even if they decide to get a private. I say this because I see that mostly in postgraduate students, that they choose to sometimes go with a private accommodation, and which they're very much welcome to be part of the college, and they can join the societies and clubs within the university itself. So I think that was the essential thing I wanted to speak about. So as I mentioned, the sports section. So Durham is the second biggest university for sports in the UK. There are 10 professional sports that are being played, and there are over 500 teams competing in different sports. Now, I want to also speak real quickly that if you're not into sports, there's over 200 other societies and clubs into literature, dancing, music, as well as theater and different languages that students can learn. And we encourage students to be part of these societies as well. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be dedicated to sports to go to the university, but there are multiple activities that you can engage with as an international student. And I think that this is towards the end of my slide, but I want to point out a few more things. So as you are probably aware, the UK government has recently changed the requirements for students that complete their degree, where they are allowed to stay in the UK for further 2 years to seek employability in the UK. This is part of the post-study work permits that will be issued for students graduating from July 2021. Durham is quite strong with the industrial links. So in fact, Durham is top 40 globally for employer reputation. The degree options will offer what's called a sandwich year. Sandwich year is or a placement year. So those placement years are where students dedicate a year of their studies in between their studies to go and work somewhere. And the university helps them to do that. They help them to find an employability where they gain a full year of experience and then come back on their final year to complete their degree. I think that's all there is I can speak about Durham right now. I will open the floor for you to ask me questions about the university and entry requirements, and I'll be more than happy to answer anything.
Can you see the question on the questions tab?
I can't because I'm still sharing my screen.
Oh, okay. I'll just remove it now, so you can close it.
Fantastic. Okay. So, yes, hi there. So I can see, I hope everybody can see me right now. So I can see the questions tab over here. Let's open that. Okay, Mustafa Bukan is asking about the research postgraduate fees. Okay, all right. So, Mustafa, the options that are available for students, the key thing is that if you're looking for a PhD program, we obviously offer a PhD at different tuition based on what you're going to study. So engineering programs or degrees that require laboratory will be at a higher cost than classroom-based courses or PhD degrees. I will definitely send you the options that are available and what are the costs of it. We don't offer fully funded PhD programs, I'm afraid, at Durham. While there are some partial scholarships available for students, I'm afraid they're not a fully funded degree. And while you do that, I will find the tuition fees for Durham and I'll send it to you. Okay. So let me just if you're going for an engineering program, then the cost would be at £24,000 per year. For degrees that are laboratory based, so as in that you would, will be classroom based, that are more theoretical, it will be at 19,250. The tuition fees for 2020-21 have not yet been announced, but I'm gonna copy in the link where you actually can view the cost of the studies. I would just indicate that, like I said, there are some partial scholarships that you can apply for, but unfortunately at Durham, we don't offer full scholarships. Cool. So I want you guys to feel free, please, to ask me any questions that you have. It is quite important that you address these things. Obviously, there are some uncertainties, as we understand right now, whether the degrees will take place during COVID-19 on their original dates, or we'll have to move the dates, or will students start their studies online and then move on to campus once they complete their degree. To answer that, I would say that unfortunately we don't have a definite answer as of today. It will depend on the UK government's decision, but we take the safety and health of both our staff and students in the first place. So as long as we can ensure that, we will continue. But one thing is for a fact is that our degree programs will continue as planned. Whether we change slightly the entry dates or whether we change the requirements where we allow students to start online and then go to the campus. But once UK becomes fully functional and reopen, that will depend on their global health situation and UK government's advice.
Great. Thank you so much, Armin. Let's wait for a couple minutes to see if there are other questions. Sometimes people can be shy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, please feel free to type your questions. There's no such thing as a bad question, and I'm here to answer all your questions. And of course, to just share with you myself, I was an international student before I went abroad to my studies, and it was a big decision. I had to ask as many questions as I could, consider different options, consider different universities before making my decision. So yeah, I'm very happy to answer any questions that you have. Right, so Emery, I understand your question is that it's hard to pay £24,000 per year. What sort of funding is available? I can send you the link on what are the available scholarships again for you to consider. Now, keep in mind, again, it depends on what degree you're going to. So the 24 is the highest that is for a PhD program, right? So if you're going for a different degree, the cost would be slightly less. Or it would be slightly different. What I do want to point out is that Durham is a public university. What that means is that whatever tuition is taken from students goes into rebuilding the facilities, hiring the right tutors, or basically just looking at itself. And more importantly, even home students, we're talking about students that are British nationals or EU students, they also pay tuition at the university. So the least for them, it would be at £9,000, but for international students, obviously, it is at a higher rate. I would say one thing around scholarships. So scholarships, the key factor is that you apply as early as you can for your scholarship, because obviously these are limited and they are subject to objections, as in that you need to justify why you deserve a scholarship. I would recommend you to prepare an article or sort of a justification for your scholarship application whenever you decide to apply, and apply as soon as you can for these scholarships. Okay, any more questions?
Pardon.
Arkadaşlar, sorularınız varsa sorabilirsiniz. Şu anda tam zamanı. You can ask your questions now. In Turkish, if you want, we will translate.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Please, if you feel like you want to ask the questions in Turkish, I'm more than happy to answer, or the translation, of course.
Well, I have a question.
Oh, please, yes.
Do you offer PhD scholarships or research scholarships?
So yeah, as I just shared the link, we do offer a number of PhD scholarships as well. Again, the funding opportunities, it's not a fully funded option from the university, but where there are external modes of funding. Those external modes of funding are the ones that students can apply via other sort of other governmental sectors within the UK that offer the scholarships. I have to be honest, with Durham University, we don't offer that many scholarships on a PhD level. Many of our scholarships are on the postgraduate master's level, but there are options, of course, available for students.
I see.
I can see there is, there's two questions there. One is about the postgraduate. So, okay, so Emery, if your question is around the PhD, scholarships available for postgraduate students, yes, there are a number of them available. Again, you can refer to the link that I sent you. Most of them are partial scholarships. Some schools, like for instance the business school, they do close earlier their scholarship requests, but that's because of their popularity. Now, that takes us to the next question, which is around the application deadline. And to answer that question, there is, for postgraduate degrees, there's no specific deadline for applications, as long as the courses are open and as long as there are seats available and you can achieve, or you can obtain your visa on time to arrive to the UK. For undergraduate students, they have to go through what's called the UCAS system. So if you have not heard of UCAS before, then unfortunately it's a bit late right now to consider a new application. But again, if you have a UCAS account, that's absolutely fine. You can go in that system. You can apply for 5 different universities, including Durham, or 5 different courses, including Durham. I am going to assume that your question is around postgraduate. So if your question is around postgraduate, then yes, there's still time for applications. Normally, some of the more popular programs would close earlier because we have reached capacity in the class. And we, at Durham, it's important to keep the classroom sizes small to ensure that there is sort of an individual learning experience for students. And just keeping in mind that the start date is in October every year, right? So, or end of September. So if it's end of September or October, then you need to leave yourself a good month and a half or 2 months to prepare both your documents, application, and everything else. Cool. Any other questions? Fantastic. So it was for a postgraduate program. Yeah, then absolutely. So there I wouldn't say there's a specific deadline. The only thing I would say to consider if you're confirming your place soon, or if you're considering to apply, is that keep in mind that you have to plan getting an offer from the university, which can take up to 3 to 4 weeks by the time all your documents are prepared and submitted, and a decision is made by the faculty. The other thing is that to keep in mind is that you have to obviously, once you decide that, yes, I'm going with the university, you have to either prepare for a visa if we're moving on to on-campus studies, or if in the scenario that the campus is going to, sorry about that, oops, my apologies, that was my cat. In the case of that, the degrees is going to be on campus, then you need to prepare for your visa, and you need to make sure that you arrive there on time. The other factor, a very important factor, is the accommodation. So if you're going with the university accommodation, as I mentioned, the more popular choices like en-suites normally are the ones that run out first. If you're going with the private accommodation, you have to do your research and making sure you are prepared for that when you arrive to the UK.
That's great.
Cool. Fantastic.
Do you have anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
No, I think I'm grateful for you guys for asking the questions. Thank you so much for organizing this webinar as well. Obviously, you have my contact details, so if any questions pop up, please feel free to get in touch with me. I'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions.
Awesome. Can you drop your email on the chat box, please? Maybe they can contact you personally.
I'll be more than happy to do that. So I will just add my email address here, and my name is Alın. So please feel free to get in touch with me if you have any questions. I'll be more than happy to address them at any given point.
Great. Thank you so much, Armin, for participating.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you so much for organizing this, and I would like to thank everyone who attended and asked me questions as well.
Great. See you later. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.